always a pleasure to be here on Touched by Faith, and a greater pleasure to always have you watching this program. Welcome to another mind-blowing episode of Touched by Faith, where we showcase the encounter of men with God. My name is Olufunke Owu. Before we go into what we have for you today, we'll be bringing to you a message from our father in the Lord, Pastor Enoch Adejare Adeboye. Don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back.
Even if Solomon wasn't wise, at least he realized that he wasn't wise. That's why he got his way into wisdom. And he ended up becoming one of the wisest people who ever lived. There are many people who are satisfied with what they call common sense. But there's something far, far better than ordinary common sense. Enemy number two, mental enemy number two, is what is called good enough. Good enough is the greatest enemy of greatness. When you think, things are okay by now, I'm okay, things are good enough for me, I don't want to go any higher. If you accept good enough, you may never become great. Let me give you an example. Check 1 Kings chapter 19, from verse 19 to 21. 1 Kings 19, from verse 19 to 21. It tells us the story of Elisha. Elisha was the son of a very wealthy farmer. If we're going to go by the modern way of looking at that story, there were 12 tractors working in the farm of his father. And he was the overseer of them all. He was the one to inherit everything. So when you want to talk about good enough, that boy could say, things are good, man. I have a lot laid up for me. If he had settled for that, he would never have become one of the greatest prophets ever. I mean, so great that in 2 Kings chapter 13, from verse 14 to 21, 2 Kings 13 from verse 14 to 21, not only were kings calling him father, the former son of a farmer could even raise the dead with his dead bones. Are you saying things are good enough now, so you don't want to go any higher? Please change your mind. Change your mind and do so immediately. I've told the story before of my headmaster way back in 1952. My headmaster then was what they would call, in those days, a certificated teacher. That means he had been to St. Andrew's College. And St. Andrew's Teacher Training College in those days was, more or less the university for many people. In 1952, the then University College of Ibadan, now UI, was a very young university, just about 4 years old. And, very few people ever even dream of that. So to come to be a graduate of St. Andrew College of Oyo, oh my, you have arrived. I could remember very well the day he came to take up the job at Ifewara. Oh, the hunters were there to welcome him with gun salute. He was a big man. When a European man came visiting the village in those days, he was the one they called to come and interpret. Whether he interpreted correctly or not, who knows? So he felt at the top of the world. 1952. Then in 1977, I got a letter from him. At that time, I was a lecturer at the University of Lagos.
Welcome back. I know that you have been blessed by that word that you have heard. So for more messages by Pastor Enoch Adejare Adeboye, kindly visit www.redeemersnetwork.tv. Scripture says in Psalms 127 verse 3, "Lo, children are the heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward." But what happens when a couple have to wait a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades for this fruit to come forth? Like I always say, it can only be imagined. It is best imagined than experienced. Today, I present to you the ABSOers as they share with us what went down in 30 good years, trusting God for the fruit of the womb.
Miraculous God. Everyone is saying when you speak, everything obeys. Everything obeys. When you show up, everything adjusts. Everything adjusts.
I am Deacon Segun Ebiesua and Deacon Irohin Ayo Ebiesua from Lagos Province 13, Livingstone Zone, Livingstone area. I am in Nursery Department, Provincial Headquarter Facility Management Committee Chairman, the RMF Livingstone Assembly Coordinator, and the Parish head usher. We are Christian by birth, both of us. Where we came from, we are Nilaje from Ondo State, and the dominant church in our place is the Cherubim and Seraphim Church. So that is where we worship, and then I want to say we've known Christ, we have been a Christian until we are in Lagos, and we continue worshiping in that church. And when we had this challenge, initially we didn't see it to be a challenge. We didn't see it to be a problem. We just feel that it's a normal thing, because we had miscarriage twice, and we just continue our life. So at a point in time, we were then trying to see doctor in between the line, precisely 2005. My wife fell sick, and the sickness lasted for like 2 years. There was no improvement, and she decided to relocate because as at that time we were not even looking for baby. We were looking for how we can save her life. And that was when I think when he actually went to Abeokuta. The sister who happens to be the mother, because she's an orphan, myself I am an orphan. The sister who happens to be the mother lives in Abeokuta. Then he went to meet with them, and then when he got there, he has to start attending Redeemed Christian Church of God. Lekki 98. If I have a power and I have opportunity of seeing anybody around that attend the Redeemed Christian Church of God, I will flog that person. Because Lekki 98, I was working in Ikoyi, and we were to attend the party at Jakonde. In fact, we checked the whole night. Checked the whole night. I was now looking at it. Who are these people? They say Redeem. Well, everybody I say Redeem. Is that only place that we have God? To cut the long story short, she told me for us to see, I need to come to camp. Camp to come and do what? Say that is the only place I can see her for now. But because she's my wife and I still needed her, one of my friends who had been attending the Redeemed Christian Church of God, I told him, please take me to camp. In fact, that was the first day I saw that DGO. And when that DGO was about ministering, he knelt down on the altar. He said everybody should point hand at him and pray for him. In fact, when everybody was praying for him, it's like I was in another realm. I was not seeing human being. It's like I was seeing an angel. So that day I made up my mind. This is where I'll be worshiping, and when is the time for the altar call, and I came out, and that is how we began the journey.
It was one Sunday when we were doing Sunday school. Then there was a Bible passage that I saw that I kept in my mind that when I get home, I will read that passage. So when I got home, I started looking for the Bible passage until I saw it. Before I gave my life to Christ, I used to go to, because I was sick, I'll go to Babalawo, go to all these Sele prophets. Then until I saw that passage, every medicine that I was using, all this Sele medicine, then I just threw them away. That I would lose my life. I will give out my life for Jesus to give me back my life. That was when I gave my life to Christ.
We got married September 30th, 1989. We started living together, and we lived happily. Our marriage was smooth. Both family, they are united, and there was no problem. I happened to be the first son of my parents. I happened to be the only one that had this challenge. But of course, because of my belief in God, though I have not gone to the altar to confess Jesus, but because we are born Christian, we just believe that is the normal way to serve God. And because of my belief in God, I don't believe that we need to go elsewhere to go and seek for baby. So we continued the journey. First year, second year, third year. I think we had the first pregnancy, and about 3 months or so it came down. And we had the second pregnancy, it came down. Since then, we're just believing God. Until, when you had this type of problem, from the part we came from, Yoruba land, family, mother-in-law, come, do you want to continue this way? But one thing about me is that I don't give room for interference. I just feel that let's continue living like that. Until after some time we will discuss, and in fact there was a woman that took us to one church. Then we were living in Okoko area. The head of the church is happens to be a prophet, and is a woman. And when we got there, he told us that we are going to have a baby. He said he will pray. I don't know what he's going to do anyway, but he told us he will pray. We are going to have a baby. But after having the baby, we have to bring the baby back to the church for testimony and thanksgiving. That if not, the baby will not be able to walk. And we say, okay, that we will come back. And because of my principle, as we step out of that place, I told my wife, I'm not coming here again. Because if I have a baby, as long as I appreciate God, I can give my thanksgiving anywhere. Why must it be here? What if I am no longer living in Nigeria? I said I'm not coming back here. In fact, if you ask me the road we passed to that place till today, I don't know. That is how we continue. All this while, within this journey, when she relocated, initially I tried to see how we can reconcile the family, but the effort was not yielding any fruit. I just decided that let me move on. Maybe he has gone to marry. Let me move on. So I decided to take another woman. 6 months after, I was not enjoying marriage again. It's like, was it not the same marriage I have been for these years? Even with the challenge. But the union produced one boy. Because even if this happens like this, and I don't have my life, what do I do? That was when I was now trying to reach out to her again. That was when he told me to come to camp. And I went to camp. And I told her everything, how I've gone. She told me that fine, thank God, that since it has happened like that, I should just continue my life. But I said, but I should continue my life, but I'm not enjoying the life you said I continue. I don't know how I want to continue such life. When I came back, I went to see my pastor, and I told my pastor the history of my life, how I came about the woman that was with me. And the pastor told me, if I want to be a redeemed member, this person living with me is not my wife, that I should look for my wife. He will call her and tell her, which the pastor actually did. And even at Abeokuta, her own pastor was insisting they want to speak with me. Eventually, I was able to get to the pastor. He gave me their number. I called, and they invited me to Abeokuta. I went to see the pastor. And of course, I didn't tell lies. I told the pastor what happens, how the journey began, and how I find myself in these situations. And they told me that in Redeem, challenge does not giving room for this kind of a thing. Since my wife did not leave my house to go and get another husband, he went to go and meet Jesus. And he has invited me to meet that same Jesus. I had to reunite with my wife. That was my desire. And when I came, I told my zonal pastor. The zonal pastor told me, he said I should go to the father of that lady, that this is the situation and this journey cannot continue. And of course, I saw more courage. I went. I follow every process that needed to be followed to dissolve that marriage, because I needed to reunite with my wife. We were now looking at it that, okay, if you are now coming back, all this while, it has been baby we are looking for. You are sick. Now you met Jesus. Jesus has healed you. If you are coming back again, no baby. Where do we go from there? How do we live within the family? Even my own family, how do I manage the situation? Even within your family, would they even be happy with you that you are coming back again? We now agree between ourselves that our reunion should be between us, two of us. No involvement of any family, both my family and her own family. Anytime they said they were coming, we tell them it's in Orioke praying. Yes. And myself, when where I was living, then I was trying to rush this place that I don't want her to come to that rented apartment where the other woman was before. So, and by that 2010, this place was already is ready. And before then, she has been coming. And when this place was ready in 2010, even if none of my family members know the address of this place. I think it was about that 2020, towards the end of 2010, that it finally came. We attempted to IVF while she was in Abeokuta, and both failed. Cost us a whole lot, and with the knowledge of her pastor, when it fails, what we were planning was to go out of the country to go and try it again. But IVF involved a whole lot of money, and we have not recovered from the cost for the 2 times. So we are just putting our house together. We keep believing in God. But at a point when we could no longer hide our stay, people get to know, the family member gets to know, yes, fine. In fact, there is no family member, especially my family member, that could even come to ask me, how did it happen? Because in the first place, I did not even tell them that I divorced my wife. They are aware that she relocated. Whatever that happened thereafter, I didn't discuss with anybody. So if my wife is coming, I did not discuss with anybody. But they are aware that the other lady has left. And I told them, in fact, what she was even doing then is glaring to all of them. So when we came back, what the medical diagnosis revealed later was fibroid. So that was when we are now seeking solution for until 2018. As at that moment, we don't have elsewhere to go than to go and report to God that this is what we are going through. The pastor now called the 2 doctors. He explained to them. Both of them now advise that that fibroid can be taken care of, but it should be in a general hospital. Of course, the private hospital we are using in Ikorodu here, I've gone there. We've made the arrangement. They book us for appointment. Then that is going to cost us 300,000 naira. I was about to pay before I discussed with pastor, and pastor said, no, let's call those doctors and seek their opinion, and they said no, it has to be general hospital. It was just a divine arrangement. When we got there, in fact, the consultant was a woman. When they look at her age and he explained to them how he started life and that up till now he's still looking unto God. The doctor now said that the fibroid by the grace of God is going to be successful. But immediately after that fibroid, because of her age, that we should not wait again. He gave us two options. That we should either go for adoption or we go for IVF again. Both options are fine by us. So we had the fibroid operation and it was successful. Thereafter, the doctor now gave us hospitals, one in Ikeja, one in VI. We now choose to Ikeja home because it's close to us. Everything we resolve to do the, and when we do the IVF again, it fails. My wife just got up. In fact, if the woman had not heard her, maybe he will have gone mad. I don't know what will have happened to her.
I feel very bad, very, very bad. I thought I will not be able to have my own child again. I have lost hope. I did not get myself then. I don't even know that I got he was the one telling me that. What I noticed was I just noticed that doctor just held me close to herself.
When we got back home, I tried to encourage her. I told her there are people that even have children and they can't stay to enjoy those children. They died and we are alive. For God to are still keeping us alive, maybe He has a plan for us. Why don't us just keep going and looking unto God? Even if I say I want to continue, do I have the money to continue? There was one of my very close friends in the church. He's far younger than me, but he's very close to me. He was aware of all the process that we are doing. When I told the guy that the thing failed, he said we should not waste time again. We should go and repeat it. Before I get home from office that day, the guy transferred the money to me. In fact, that was when I was able to tell my wife, we need to go back again. I now told her that Bradelu gave me 600,000 naira to go and pay for the preservation of the embryo, that we'll go back again. Along the line, pandemic came. Here we are again. Keep praying. We can't continue the process. When the pandemic came, in all honesty, we were not bothered again. We just hope in God. When they eased the lockdown, as God divinely arranged all this process, my office was not opened. Because going from here to Ikeja, we need somebody to be driving and we don't have anybody, we don't have driver. That means I have to be going to be jumping from one day. And they said you should not stress yourself. So I was at home working. So I have all the time to go and come back and go and come back. Every appointment we go, every appointment we go.
Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. It doesn't matter how long it takes. When God shows up, He wipes off tears of years. And then it will be as if you are dreaming. So we really appreciate God for what He has done in this family, and for you out there trusting God for the same miracle or even something different. As He has done for this couple, He will definitely do yours. But if you don't have a relationship with Him, you have to do that right now. Give your life to Christ, have faith in Him, and then it will show up big time in your life. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Touched by Faith. I remain Olufunke Owu, and why don't you join us same time, same session next time for another power-packed, fantastic, mind-blowing episode of Touched by Faith. Until then, remember that God is always faithful.
Miraculous God. Saving the best until now.
Redeemer's Network Television.